Hello everyone, my name's Ian. Welcome back to my hobby YouTube channel, In Brief Book and Film Reviews. Today I'd like to talk to you about a book I finished up reading about 2 or 3 weeks ago called Rat Bastards by John Red Shea. This book is actually a self-authored book, so he wrote it himself. He wrote it himself. He sat down and wrote it himself, and it's evident when you read the first 40 pages. The kind of, I wouldn't say Amish way, but the very green and novice way that he puts it together. That being said, I thought he'd done a fantastic job for a person who, just wrote down his first book. Perhaps he did get a little bit of help with someone I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. After 40 pages, of reading this, I found it very egotistical and, just kind of very strange, and that, and I didn't want to read much more. I thought that was it. But I decided to read on because some of the instances where he's talking about, beating up this body and putting this one straight and all the rest for it, I thought it was hilariously funny and very egotistically hilariously funny the way he does it, where he writes it down. So it's kind of like kind of I don't know if he was kind of like, that's the Bostonian sense of humor, like he's pulling the piss or something. But I just kind of read on for that sake, because just to give me a few laughs at how ridiculously sounded. And that's not putting him down. That's just my opinion. Okay, so this book was first published by John himself in, I think it was the 14th of March 2006, and then it was re-released by Harper in April 2009. The book is 320 pages long, and like I said, if you haven't put it down after 40 pages, and you've read on, you will probably get a couple of giggles out of it more, and a better understanding of John himself and that. Okay, so within the book, John talks about the usual, his early childhood growing up. He's the only boy in a predominant female family, where his mother was there to look after him and his sisters alone. John talks about his early childhood growing up, um, being involved in petty crime and stuff like that, gang fights and stuff. He touches on the kind of like Boston integration between African Americans and Irish immigrants and stuff. He then talks about South Boston as a whole, the areas and stuff. He touches on his boxing career, and then he goes into his boxing career in another state. I think it was California, having to move over. Then he touches on selling narcotics at a very young, early age. He then talks about his first run-in with Whitey Bulger. Now, if you're looking for a book that you think is going to tell you all the gory details about this prisoner and that prisoner, and about Whitey Bulger and how he slayed this body and that body with Whitey Bulger, this is most definitely not the book. It really isn't. You'll get more from Black Mass, the movie, or you get more from other Whitey Bulger books, in regarding I think his accomplices, Paul Moore and Kevin Weeks. Now he does touch on talking about, he does talk about how he first stood up to, first mentioned that he didn't give about Whitey Bulger, and that was the first confrontation that he had. I think it was the following day after he said that. He did touch up about his first situation where Whitey pulling the gun on him, a shotgun with, I think it was Paul Moore, Kevin Weeks or something, and to see if he could keep his mouth shut and he wasn't a rat, which he says, and in a very egotistical style. I passed with flying colours. I think John, I'm not slating the guy, but he comes across very egotistical, and I've watched interviews with him as well, and that couple of interviews, and that, and he comes across very slow and very simple, but he's just someone who is kind of street wise and street smart, and I think he's got to where he was through his street IQ and stuff like that. And that's not putting the guy down. It really is, and I'm sure he's an intelligent guy. Like most of us, and that, or all of us, that some all of us are some things and stuff, um then he talks about his time in Florida, being a Whitey's going single-handedly at the drugs first, and he going as part of Whitey's team, his left-hand man on the drug scene and stuff. He then touches about getting his relationship with his partner, I think it was Penelope, and going out, wining, dining, having as much money as this, and he details about how much money he had laying around and X amount of this and that. He then goes straight into the DEA. I think it was the DEA. I don't think it was the FBI, because I know Whitey was had the FBI working with him. So I think it was the DEA, or one of the American federal police agencies and stuff. He touched up getting lifted. I think there was about 30 of them or something and that, and he was one of the very only ones that didn't open up his mouth. States it as a very matter-of-factual way, and that, and he talks about what he says, and he tries to come across as the hard man and stuff. And I found a couple of incidents as well kind of let him down in terms of, like, if he acted like that around me, or something like that, I wouldn't appreciate him. And that, I think there was one incident where he's talking about he's training with the boxer, a former boxer. I can't think of his name now. There's actually a movie out on him as well. And there was an incident where they were, cussing a guy out, when he had his earphones in front of his family and that, and it comes off very, very egotistical and that. I read a couple of reviews on Google also, and a lot of people were saying he's like crazy narcissist, psycho, and all the rest of it. And, everyone has their own opinion on that, but the positives is that, this is he wrote this book himself, so he's portraying himself as the way he is. And, the only thing that's worse than portraying yourself as a bad guy or someone who is not to be messed with, I suppose, is to not be yourself, lying about how you portray yourself, and that, like, saying you're one thing and actually you're the next and that. So so he goes in, he talks about the getting lifted, and that he talks about his time in prison and stuff, and that he talks about setting fights in prison and stuff, and that, where he has to take on Jamaicans and stuff, and he has to put a few people straight. He talks about his connections with the Italians and stuff, and it's all kind of like tribal kind of stuff and that, and I get it, like, there's the Italians, there's the Irish, there's the African Americans in America, and they're all based there, and the Mexicans, the Costa Ricans, the Dominican Republicans and stuff like that, it talks about all that kind of stuff. And then he just talks about his visits from his girlfriend, his mother, and then it comes to him eventually being released, going up to a judge in a very matter-of-factual way, and it's like trying to put it on the judge, and it's I found the book to be, I found it to be kind of comical in one sense, like you couldn't possibly take a guy like that for real. If you did, come into blows with him, or like you wouldn't want to be around his company again and that, and it is what it is, and that I wouldn't say it's the greatest book I've ever read in that, but for someone who read that, and he gives himself it's just a memoir, basically, a 320-page memoir of just his kind of his life. I think he brought out another one, a kid from Southie or something and that, but I don't think I'll be bothered reading that, because I think I got the gist of his life and his dealings with Whitey Bulger. He's meant to be the enforcer on that, but I think said he was kind of more of a drug dealer, the drug baron within the organisation. I think there's more. He obviously, if he has kept his silence for 10 years without talking in prison, I don't think he's going to break his silence by giving everyone information in the book and stuff and that, one of the saddest things I would say in the book that he mentioned was when he came out of prison, and he tried to rekindle some sort of relationship with his partner Penelope, and they were in the car, and he kind of looked over and he seen the age on her from the 10 years they'd been away, and he kind of felt sorry. And it just goes to show, like, you just saying to yourself, like, everyone hung each other. You see people on YouTube, guys on YouTube, as well as I mentioned before in my previous videos. um, they hang each other, they save themselves. And whether you like it, whether you think it's right or whether you think it's wrong, sometimes a lot of these guys that committed mass murders, and they are out, because they've ratted on someone else, or they've cooperated on someone else, and that's fair enough. But just on that, if you said to yourself, if he had have just like kind of cooperated with the police and that, then 10 years he could have had the kids, he could have had his kids, his wife, he could have settled down. He talks about going back on and doing construction work, and um I was just thinking about at the end, like, if even if he had just cooperated, and like, he did 10 years for a man who was on the run, who eventually met his death, who went to prison. It all kind of like didn't work out kind of correctly for it. He lost 10 years of his life. He can hold up his head high and say, he's a stand-up guy and whatnot. But, you know, he, as a narcissistic way, is like, he did wrong. He was a drug baron. He sold drugs. He hoarded, drugs kill people. They hurt families. They destroy families. He roughed up a lot of people on the outside, a lot more than what I'm sure he's mentioned in the book. Um, and you say to yourself, for 10 years of your life, for 10 years that you're never going to get back, this woman loved you, and she was too old to have kids with him when he came out. When you say to yourself, was it really worth it? And he's back doing a construction job, on a normal salary, and that. And you equate it to the money that he had, where he kind of detailed the money that he had, hidden away, this, that, and the other. You say to yourself, if the average industrial wage in America, say 50, 60 grand a year, 70 grand a year, whatever, then, like, what was it worth over 10-year time of that, when you could have had, like, you could have bought your house, got a couple of kids with the woman that you love? Probably not. Like, he was probably better off, um coming, opening up, and putting his hands up, like so many people do, because they don't want to remain in that life. They want a way out of it when they see the 10 years straight that they have to do. But that was he's trying to just say, if you don't, this is the way it worked for me, and if you don't like it, that's tough. But and I'm not saying what he did was right or what he did was wrong. I'm just saying, you got to be kind of open-minded to that as well, and that. So that's it. And anyway, I've probably gone over a little bit more than what I usually do, 12 minutes and that. So I try to keep it brief as best as I can. I hope everyone's doing very well at the moment, and that. Happy Halloween to those who are tuning in, and I wish you the very best for the rest of the week. It's Tuesday today, so I wish you the very best for the rest of the week, and stay blessed and stay gratuitous, and see you again next video.